And three, two, one. All right, and we are back. And today we're back with episode 2 to the Christian Denominations Family Tree series. Now, this is an incredible series, and I definitely am going to get through this one. It's another video by UsefulCharts, amazing creator, love his videos. And yeah, guys, the first one, last I remember, I think it ended off with some like Eastern Orthodox churches. So I'm excited to see where this one's going to be going towards. And if you guys are excited to see and you want to see more, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, all three of those things really help out the channel. Every time you like it, more people get to see it. When you comment, more people get to see it. When you subscribe, more people get to see it. YouTube, it's crazy how it works. But yeah, guys. And yeah, also remember there are dire consequences. Like if you don't like, comment, and subscribe, you know, YouTube will come through that door and they will. Let's get to it. It is Christian Denomination Family Tree Series. I feel like I'm saying that weird, but let's get to it.
Hi, this is Matt Baker. Welcome to episode 2 in my series on the family tree of Christian denominations. In episode 1, we looked at the origins of Christianity, how it started off as a sect of Judaism, but then went on to become a separate religion. We then discussed the first 2 church councils, which clarified what the major beliefs of Christianity were, and which produced the Nicene Creed. Finally, we looked at the next 2 councils in which we started to get some smaller branches of Christianity splitting off from the rest, such as the Church of the East and the Oriental Orthodox churches. So in today's video, we're going to switch gears and focus on 2 of the largest branches of the tree, the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Both of these very large churches can actually be divided into various smaller churches. So we'll be looking at how each group is organized, as well as the history behind how they ended up that way.
Well, I have a feeling this won't be confusing whatsoever, guys. Follow along. This is going to be super simple. There's lines. I got a good feeling about this.
Special note will be some very recent developments involving the church in Ukraine. But first, I want to point out that throughout this series, I'll be collaborating with the YouTube channel Ready for Harvest. As many of you already know, Ready for Harvest is all about Christian denominations.
Well, shout out to Ready to Harvest. I think I may be checking out some of their content soon.
Talking about their history and how they differ from one another. What I really appreciate about Ready for Harvest is that while its host, Joshua, belongs to one particular Christian denomination, he always approaches every topic from a very neutral point of view. So, for example, today, since I'm focusing on Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Christians, he too has released a very unbiased video about these same 2 groups. So, if you want to get some extra information on what I'm discussing today, I definitely recommend that you watch his video after this one.
Guys, I'm going to throw out a like goal. 10 likes, and I will add this to the list of next Sunday's Christian content.
Okay, so before we jump into today's topic, let me first address a few things that came up in the comment section on episode 1. First of all, the word extinct. So for example, I indicated on the chart that the Arian Christians went extinct, while many people pointed out that the Jehovah's Witnesses are very Arian in their theology, which is true. I therefore want to clarify that whenever I show a group going extinct on this chart, I'm always referring to the original group, not to similar groups that may arise later. This is especially important with regard to Jewish Christians. I got a lot of comments from people pointing out that Messianic Jews...
Now, I did not comment this, but I said it in my video that I do believe that there are Jewish Christians still around. And I'm told a whole thing about like how I remember seeing the group. Somebody in my comments made me aware as well that that's not the exact same group. But you know, there are still people who do that. Like pretty much what he's saying right now, or he's about to say, somebody in the comments literally told me that, and I really do appreciate that because it really helps me know that people in my comment section are out. You know, they're looking at the best for me. You know, they're like, "Yo, you got questions, we got some answers," and I appreciate that because that's honestly that's part of what this whole journey is all about. Is me asking the questions and they're knowing that there will be answers out there somewhere. You know, luckily for me, I just have incredible, you know, subscribers. They are in the comment section making sure that, you know, like, hey, I got an answer for you. Here you go. It's incredible. I love you guys.
Still exist. Again, this is correct. However, Messianic Jews do not trace a line all the way back to the original Jewish Christians from ancient times. Rather, Messianic Jews are more recent converts. So, in order to make things more clear, I decided to change the label Jewish Christians to Ebionite Christians, the Ebionites being one of the early Jewish Christian sects, similar to or the same as the Nazarenes. I also received several requests to include the Samaritans and the Karaites, so let's go ahead and add them to the chart. Now, some people, including the Samaritans themselves, think that the Samaritan religion is a direct continuation of the religion followed by the northern kingdom of Israel prior to the Babylonian exile. However, from an academic perspective, it's more likely that the Samaritans emerged early on in the Second Temple period, when around 450 BCE they built their own temple on Mount Gerizim. Now, there's a lot more I could say about the Samaritans, but since this series is focused on Christianity, I'll perhaps have to make a separate video about them at some other point.
I gotta say, you kind of teased me with the whole Samaritism thing, and now I want to know more about the Samaritans.
About the Karaites. If you haven't heard about them, basically the Karaites are Jews who do not accept the teachings of the early rabbis, as recorded in the Talmud. According to some people, they are the direct descendants of the Sadducees. However, the scholarly consensus is that this is not the case, because the Karaites did not actually emerge until the medieval period, which means that it is better to see them as an early breakaway group from Rabbinic Judaism, rather than being completely distinct from it. Another such breakaway group is Beta Israel, aka the Ethiopian Jews. Again, some people theorize that this group can trace their origins to pre-rabbinic times. However, it is clear from their language and customs that they did originally have connections to rabbinic Jews, but then this connection was severed for many centuries until they were once again reunited with the rest of Judaism in modern times. Okay, let's now turn our attention back to early Christianity. I mentioned last time something called the Pentarchy. The Pentarchy emerged in some sort of official way around the time of the Council of Chalcedon. Basically, by this point, there were 5 major cities that were key centers of Christianity within the Roman Empire. Originally, there had been just 3: Rome, Alexandria, and Antioch. But when Constantinople became the new capital of the Roman Empire, it became important as well. And then there was, of course, Jerusalem, where the whole thing began. So by 451, the leaders of the church recognized 5 key cities. Each was called a patriarchate because each was governed by a special bishop called a patriarch, meaning father. Now, I changed the chart a little bit to make what happened after the Council of Chalcedon a bit more.
Now, are patriarchs similar to like cardinals? Anyone again in the comments, you know, my lovely comment section, if you can update me on that. It feels like they, you know, they're pretty important people. Like they're kind of like, you're not the Pope, but you're like locally, you're the guy to go to.
Clear. Basically, the majority of Christians in Alexandria, Egypt, and in Antioch, Syria, did not agree with the Chalcedonian decisions. They therefore broke away from the rest and eventually became known as Oriental Orthodoxy, which is distinct from Eastern Orthodoxy. These days, the two largest churches within Oriental Orthodoxy are the Coptic Orthodox Church in Egypt and the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, which became independent from the Patriarch of Alexandria in 1959. However, I should point out that the church in Ethiopia has its own very unique history that goes all the way back to ancient times. And as I discussed in my series on Who Wrote the Bible, Ethiopian Christians have a unique version of the Bible that includes several extra books that are not found in most other Bibles. Also, since I mistakenly didn't show a photo of the Ethiopian patriarch last time, I wanted to show him this time. This is Patriarch Abun Matthias, the spiritual leader of around 40 million Ethiopian Christians.
Wow.
Okay, so let's now return to
that's
the
pretty cool.
Pentarchy. Although most of the Christians in Alexandria and Antioch became Oriental Orthodox, a minority did not. That's why I also show dotted lines that stay within the Eastern Orthodox section, which I've now decided to color red. The Christians in these areas that sided with Eastern Orthodoxy were originally known as Melkites, meaning imperial. That term will pop up again later, so I thought I'd point out its meaning now.
Make sure you guys have your notes ready. Write it down, what he just
But
said.
here's the thing. In the 600s CE, Alexandria, Antioch, and Jerusalem came under the control of the new religion of Islam. Therefore, these cities became less important in terms of Christian leadership, leaving only Rome and Constantinople as the two main patriarchates. Therefore, a bit of a power struggle eventually developed between Rome and Constantinople. On one side, there was the fact that Rome, as the original seat of imperial power, had been
See, this is where things start to go down the rails for me. Because, okay, obviously Islam is starting to come through, and then, they're getting more popular in some of these cities like Jerusalem and, Atriarch and Alexandria. But again, work together. Like you guys, it doesn't have to be like a competition. We can just work together, people. You can have these places still be the patriarch areas of those cities. They can still be patriarch cities that just also have a large group of, Islamic people in them. And then also for these other two, to eventually I see what he's gonna do is, the Great Schism. I can see it there. They're going to become the Roman Catholic Church and then the Eastern Orthodox Church. Come on, man. What's up with that too? Like, can't anybody just work together? Like, what's up with the power struggle? Does it have to be a power struggle? Like, we're all trying to get to the same place here. I just don't personally see how the leaders of these two cities, the patriarch of these two cities can't come together, talk to each other, and come to an agreement at the end of the day that doesn't lead to this type of great schism. Like, it sounds weird to me.
been given, back in the early days of the Pentarchy, a sort of precedence over the other four cities. However, on the other side, there was the fact that Constantinople was now the seat of imperial power, and it was the Greek emperor in Constantinople that now appointed the Latin pope over in Rome. As the centuries went by, Rome and Constantinople drifted further and further apart as Europe became divided between the Holy Roman Empire in the west and the Byzantine Empire in the east. This came to a head in 1054 with what's called the Great Schism. The Great Schism can be blamed on many different things, but I'd like to point out just two. One was a disagreement over whether or not Rome and its bishop, the Pope, was the head over the entire Christian church. According to Constantinople, the Pope was just a first among equals. In other words, he held a special place of honor, but in practical terms, he held no more power than the Patriarch of Constantinople. However, according to Rome,
Okay.
the Pope did have actual authority over the entire church. The other major difference related to the Nicene Creed, which I discussed in episode 1. In fact, I created a bit of a stir because, as an example, I showed the version of the creed used these days by Catholics and Protestants, rather than the one used by Eastern Orthodox Christians. The difference is this line here, known as the filioque, meaning "and from the Son." So, as you can see, Catholics and Protestants say that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, whereas the Eastern Orthodox Christians say that he proceeds from the Father only. Because of these differences and many others, East and West parted ways in 1054. Now, I should make it clear that it would be incorrect to say that the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church started only in 1054. Instead, it would be more accurate to say that they both started in the 1st century and that they were simply united up until 1054.
I would still say, once again, like, those don't seem like things you can't, like, come back from. These seem like things that if you guys just talk to each other, listen and figure out what each other's really trying to say here, then you can get past this. Also, I will say, I don't want to take sides here, but it just seems like the Pope like they really wanted to have the Pope in power. And I even appreciated the first bit when he said, like, you have a special, you have like a special place, but like you're still equal. Like there's no one who's actually more powerful than the other. You just may be first in line when it comes to like what Pope are we gonna feed first. But then they were just like, no, he's the Pope. You're just a guy. You're a patriarch, and you know, again, I feel like that's something that you guys can discuss and talk about. As both Christians and especially leaders, you guys should be able to talk about that. And yeah, the Great Schism. Ah, man, it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be what it was. I'll say that.
So, what about the popes then? I mean, the ones from Peter up until Pope Leo IX in 1054. Well, the difference is that Catholics claim that those popes were the leaders of the entire Christian church, whereas in the view of the Eastern Orthodox Church, these popes were simply the bishops of Rome, who, as I mentioned earlier, were, in their minds, simply the first among equals. Okay, so let's now look at how each of these churches are organized today, starting with the Eastern Orthodox Church, which sees itself as a single church, but can actually be divided into 15 equal churches called autocephalous churches. Basically, being autocephalous means that the leader of that church does not have to answer to anyone higher up, other than God, of course. However, the Patriarch of Constantinople is given special precedence and is considered first among equals. This is why the Patriarch of Constantinople is called the Ecumenical Patriarch. Ecumenical meaning representing more than one group. Currently, that position is held.
Well, I just learned 2 new words today. Thank you very much, Useful Charts. You're not just good for charts. You're also good for, learning new words. Image, I guess words are in charts. I don't know. Useful Charts, you're doing great. But also, like, I just learned 2 new words today. So thank you very much.
By Bartholomew I. Initially, the Eastern Orthodox Church consisted of only 5 autocephalous churches. These were the 4 out of the 5 patriarchates from the Pentarchy, as well as the Church of Cyprus, which had always been seen as being independent, all the way back to ancient times.
Okay.
However, over time, more autocephalous churches were added by Constantinople, such as the Bulgarian Orthodox Church in 927, the Serbian Orthodox Church in 1219, and most importantly, the Russian Orthodox Church in 1589. I say most importantly because nowadays the Russian Orthodox Church is by far the largest of the various Eastern Orthodox churches. It
Wow.
is currently led by Kirill, who holds the title
Ooh.
Patriarch of Moscow.
Hey, my guy he knows how to get nice stuff like jewelry. He knows how to. He's fashionable guy. I gotta say, he looks like he got some fashion towards him. Uh, but let's get to the real thing here, guys. You know what you part of what you come here for.
The Church of
I gotta judge these, not in a judgmental way, as if like a negative, but I do have to tell you which one of these logos are my favorite. So we're gonna start at the top here, and as far as Constantinople, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I will say that. I will say Church of Cyprus is doing similar things, but I'm liking it a lot more. What is this? Bulgarian Orthodox Church. A little hard to read. A little hard to read, but when you actually get up close, it's pretty nice. Greek Orthodox. Alexandria. Let's see what you're looking like. A little plain, I will say that. But I like what they're doing. I like the little lion with the wings on it. The crown is a good touch. I feel like that's something that they kind of put in a lot of theirs. Let's see, Greek. This is Antioch. Little hard to read as well, and it's a little plain. There's no. I don't really see a crown in there. I don't really see like a two-headed bird. I like the two-headed bird. Let's see, Jerusalem. This seems a little bit more like a normal, just like crest versus like I don't know, nothing about it specifically screams church, but also I don't read the language. uh Serbian, again, it's a little plain for me. I'm not like the biggest fan of it. I want to know more about these here. Are these like little crowns? That actually kind of adds something to me now, that actually might be kind of cool. I don't, they kind of look like the letter D, but my name starts with the letter D. So actually, yeah, I like that one. Russian Orthodox Church. What's up with this? Why is it sideways? If someone can explain to me why this is sideways, and also why they have the, like, I guess, are these like the additional parts of the cross here? I feel like I haven't seen this many lines in a cross before. Like 3 lines is crazy to me, but I kind of like it. I feel like it's something that you see and you're like, what does that mean? And then you're like, okay. Let's see, Church of Greece. It's a little plain, but I like it. I like the two-headed birds. I'm a fan. This one's doing something. Okay, Romania. I like what y'all doing over there. It's a little hard to read, but it's colorful, and it's like it gets my attention. Albania. Let's see here. This is a little plain. I like what you're doing, but I will say this looks a little plain. Polish. This actually looks like just a normal crescent for a country. Like if I didn't know better, I would think that's the Polish flag. Macedonian. I gotta say, very similar thoughts to what I said about Jerusalem. It seems like a family crest to me. Let's see here. We got Georgian. Again, it's a little bit more family crest looking, but I actually like it. It actually is just a cool design in my opinion. Orthodox Church of, what is it, Slovakia and Czech, the Czech lands in Slovakia. Okay, uh, it's a little plain. I will say a little plain. Not the worst, but it is a little plain. This is just a photo of a church here. Orthodox Church in America, of course. America, can we not be lazy about this? Like seriously, like real. In my opinion, you're in last place. You didn't even really try. I do apologize if anyone is a person within the Orthodox Church in America, um, but you see your symbol. Like I'm sorry to tell you this, but you see your symbol. And finally, Orthodox Church of Ukraine. I really like this one. It's so intricate. It's small. Like it's just small details in that, and then you see this, but it doesn't scream. I guess it doesn't scream Christianity to me, but when you look at it, it's a really like I could see somebody having that as a tattoo. All right, back to the video.
Greece and the Romanian Orthodox Church were the next two Eastern Orthodox churches to become autocephalous in 1850 and 1885, which is after each became independent from the Ottoman Empire. The remaining five churches all became autocephalous in the 20th century, or in the case of the Macedonian Church, just last year in 2022. Which leaves two gray areas to discuss. The first being the Orthodox Church in America, which originated as a branch of the Russian Orthodox Church. The Patriarch of Moscow currently recognizes the American Church as being autocephalous, but the Patriarch of Constantinople does not. When it comes to Ukraine, we get the opposite.
Come on, Constantinople. Recognize us. America.
Situation. There, the Patriarch of Constantinople recognizes the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, but the Patriarch of Moscow does not. And it's even more complicated than that. And that's because the history of Russia and Ukraine is, well, a bit complicated. You see, both countries trace their origins back to a medieval state called Kievan Rus, which was centered on the city of Kiev. When Christianity first reached that area, the church there was known as the Ruthenian Orthodox Church. However, over time, Kievan Rus disintegrated, and instead the city of Moscow became the dominant city in the region. It was at this point that the Russian Orthodox Church was established, replacing the Ruthenian Orthodox Church. Eventually, all Eastern Orthodox Christians in Ukraine ended up under the jurisdiction of Moscow. However, after the fall of the Russian Empire, some churches in Ukraine declared independence and started calling themselves the Ukrainian Autocephalous Orthodox Church, or UAOC. This church operated separately from the UOC, which still came under the jurisdiction of Moscow. This is why later the letters MP were added to the name to make it clear that it is part of the Moscow Patriarchate. To complicate matters further, a third Ukrainian church emerged after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Why do they have the same name? Like, okay, I get it for the first two because they add, autocephalous in there. But then this third one is just literally the same name. Come on, man.
This one called itself the UOC KP, the KP standing for Kiev Patriarchate. Now, obviously, having three different Eastern Orthodox churches in one country is not ideal. So, in 2018, there was an attempt to merge all three churches into a single church, which would become known as the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. The merger was mostly successful, and now around 80% of Eastern Orthodox Christians in Ukraine belong to the OCU.
See, this is what I like to see. I like to see the teamwork, the cooperation, the people working together to actually bring themselves back together as Christians. That is what's up.
However, it wasn't entirely successful. For one thing, there are still some churches that are attached to Moscow. Although, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, these are becoming less. And officially, the UOCMP has now cut ties with the Russian Orthodox Church. Secondly, there was also a disagreement between the newly appointed leader of the OCU, Epiphanius, and the former leader of the UOCKP, Filaret. This disagreement led to Filaret attempting to revive the UOCKP, although so far he's had only limited success. So basically, while there is still some disunity, the new OCU is now the main Eastern Orthodox Church in Ukraine. Now, before we move on,
Well, that wasn't confusing at all. These guys, I told you, the dotted lines, it makes it so much easier. You follow me? At a point, the Russian Orthodox Church was this Ruthian Orthodox Church. And, then after it became that, then they, because of, you know, Kevin Roos and, the fact that that's where, the original country and how they used to be one country, or at least their borders used to be connected at a certain point. It was one thing, uh, you know, and then that made it so that these guys broke off into originally two different churches and then three. And then after, the Russia Ukraine incident that's currently, I believe, still going on, I'm pretty sure that might still be going on. Uh, you know, the MP has decided, you know what, I'm done with this. We're dropping ties with the Russian Orthodox Church. So now they came together and formed a third, a fourth church. Out of the three, they came together and made a stronger fourth. Um, and yeah, things have been going great since then.
and I do want to point out the growing rift between the ecumenical patriarch of Constantinople and the patriarch of Moscow. For over
What?
500 years now, Moscow has seen itself as being the third Rome. And since the Russian Orthodox Church is by far the largest of the various Eastern Orthodox churches, it has at times been seen as a sort of rival to the leadership of Constantinople. In fact,
That is a really nice church. I mean, we shouldn't be, we're not going to judge which church is more hierarchy. It has a higher hierarchy based off what the church itself looks like. Obviously they already had a system in place. Maybe you guys could just, do what they were doing before, but they could just build a bigger church for Constantinople too. That wouldn't change anything with it.
when the ecumenical patriarch recognized the new Orthodox Church of Ukraine, Moscow decided to break communion with Constantinople, which
Oh yeah.
basically means
You see that symbol up close? That is a nice symbol up close. Like that is really nice. I do enjoy that. I like the intricate details of it.
that they're no longer on good speaking terms. This was made even worse when Patriarch Kirill came out as a strong supporter of the war on Ukraine, whereas Patriarch Bartholomew strongly opposed it. So it's
Yeah.
yet to be seen whether or not the current schism will turn out to be a landscape changing permanent one.
Do you think it's a coincidence that the Moscow church agreed with the war and the Ukraine church didn't? I feel like it might just be a coincidence, but I don't know. I'm no detective.
Okay, let's now talk about the Roman Catholic Church. By far
Okay.
the largest church in all of Christianity,
to it.
with well over 1 billion members, representing more than 50% of all
billion?
Christians.
A billion,
Now, when
you
most
say?
people refer to the Roman Catholic Church, what they're really referring to is the Latin Church, which is actually just one of 24 churches that make up the entire Roman Catholic Church. The other 23 churches are Eastern Catholic churches, which we'll be talking about shortly. But since 99% of Catholics belong to the Latin Church, let me take a moment to explain how the church organizes those 1 billion plus members. So,
Now, before he gets into that, once again, I did it for the Eastern Orthodox churches, and I will do this one more time for the, now as I know them, Latin Church, as well as the different Eastern Catholic churches. So let's start off with the Latin Church. I love this symbol here. Something about it is really getting me. I like the lock and keys. They look really intricate. I like the three crowns here. I like the rope, tying it together. This is just a really classy design here. Something about it is getting me. Coptic Catholic Church. I hate to be that guy, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. Let's see, Marionite. I kind of like this one. I wish the image within the shield was a little bit, more readable, but it's okay. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling this one here is not really getting me that far. Again, it's just it kind of reminds me of the Macedonian one, which again it just seems more like a family crest. I could say the same thing about the Syriac church, Syriac church. I can't spell or speak. Let's see. This one here is a little bit. We're stepping up here. And then we're getting back to more like this. Actually, looks more like a royal family crest. So I do kind of like this one a little bit more. It's the purple. It's probably the purple for me. Armenian. Let's see. This is interesting. So I wish this cross thing here was more visible. Maybe if I saw a more up close photo of it, I would think it was. I would be more impressed. It's just a little difficult to read that far, but at the same time, I like the symbols that I do see. This one, from a distance, isn't the most readable either, and the black and white. If you would have had more colors on it or something on there, it would have been a little bit more readable and distinguishable from the background. Simple and plain. They went with the cross. It's a good cross. Again, simple and plain. Actually, a little bit more elegant, a little bit more elegant with it. Because they actually, it's these little flares here with the cross, and the fact that they had this like little protrusion here out of it. I like this one. I actually enjoy this one. The My favorite from this side will be the Latin Church. Um, it's just something about this. It sticks out and it's immediate. Like it's an eye catcher.
So, unlike how the Eastern Orthodox churches are primarily based in single countries with perhaps some churches overseas, mainly for expats, the Roman Catholic Church is spread all over the world. So, what they do is divide the world into a few hundred provinces, like this. So, for example,
What?
although I'm not a Catholic, I live within the Catholic province of Vancouver, which includes most of British Columbia. Within that ecclesiastical province are 5 dioceses, and each one of those dioceses is led by a bishop. However, one of those dioceses is an archdiocese, led by an archbishop, who, in addition to being in charge of his diocese, is also in charge of the entire province. Now, within each diocese are a bunch of parishes, or local churches, each run by a parish priest. So, the closest Catholic church to me happens to be this one, although I also happen to live fairly close to a cathedral. Growing up, I always thought a cathedral was simply an extra big and fancy church. Well, that's
Yeah, I
not
thought it was
quite the
too.
case. Each diocese has just one cathedral, and it's called that because that's where you'll find the bishop or archbishop for that diocese. Of course, the
Oh,
most notable thing about
so wait. There's that many chains of command within the Catholic Church. I I, I don't know why I'm under the misunderstanding that it was kind of like your pastor and then like you know I guess the Pope. Like I knew cardinals were there, but I guess I don't know. I didn't know what cardinals actually do. Um, are cardinals archbishops? If somebody can answer that in the chat in the comment section for me, are cardinals also archbishops? If he answers the question in the next few minutes, then you don't have to comment. But you can still comment, and you still can like the video and also subscribe if you haven't already. And if you already have, make sure you create a second account and subscribe with that one as well.
the Catholic Church is that above all the bishops and archbishops in the hierarchy is the Pope, who is the leader of the entire church. That person is currently Pope Francis, who is also the bishop in charge of the Diocese of Rome. So basically, whoever is in charge of Rome is in charge of the entire church. Now,
Wow.
like I mentioned earlier, in addition to the main Latin Church, there are also 23 other smaller churches, which are the Eastern Catholic churches. These operate independently from the main church, but are still under the jurisdiction of the Pope. Of the 23 Eastern Catholic churches, I am going to point out just the 10 largest. Let's start here at the bottom. These three churches all trace their origins to the Church of the East, which I mentioned earlier. Basically, what happened is that in 1552, there was a schism in the Church of the East.
Another schism. People, can we please work together? Why are there so many schisms within this church of people who agree on the general same premise of the what we're doing here, and then they just like I think we should do it slightly this way, and then there's another schism.
Resulted in some congregations remaining in the Church of the East. These are the ones that became the Assyrian Church of the East and the breakaway Ancient Church of the East. But at the same time, there were other congregations that...
Shout out to the Ancient Church of the East. Something about this symbol right now is kind of getting me. It's kind of getting me. I kind of like that one. It's nice.
Decided to join the Catholic
Wait, what happened to the sound?
Church instead. These became known as the Chaldean Catholic Church. Then there are the St. Thomas Christians from India. These Christians trace their origins back to the Apostle Thomas, who supposedly traveled all the way to India in the first century. At some point, though, the Christians in India became associated with the Church of the East. But then later, some joined the Oriental Orthodox churches, becoming known as the Indian Orthodox Church, while others joined the Catholic Church, becoming known as the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church.
Oh, wow.
The Syro-Malankara Catholic Church is also based in India and consists of congregations that broke away from the Indian Orthodox Church. So note that there are two different Eastern Catholic churches based in India. The Syro-Malabar one follows Eastern Syrian traditions, whereas the Syro-Malankara one follows Western Syrian traditions. The largest Eastern Catholic Church is actually the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, with over 5 million members. This church traces its roots back to the Ruthenian Orthodox Church that I mentioned earlier. So basically, back in the 1500s, there were some Christians in Ukraine that didn't want to join the Russian Orthodox Church, so they joined the Catholic Church instead. Now, there's also a...
It's funny. You would think they would have joined the Ruthenian Greek Catholic Church, but they decided to join the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. That is interesting to me.
Ruthenian Greek Catholic Church, but it actually has nothing to do with the Ruthenian Orthodox Church.
Well, geez. There you go. There's the answer. They're not connected whatsoever.
It actually formed when certain congregations broke away from the Serbian Orthodox Church. Then there's the Armenian Catholic Church, which, as you might have guessed, is based on those who broke away from the main Armenian Church, which is associated with Oriental Orthodoxy. That leaves us with the Coptic Catholic Church, which broke away from the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate in Alexandria, and these three, which all broke away from the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate of Antioch. Which means that when it comes to the original Pentarchy, we now have way more than 5 patriarchs for 5 cities. So as I mentioned last time, there's an Oriental Orthodox Patriarch of Alexandria who uses the title of...
Wait. Can I guess how many there's going to be before he says it? 18.
Pope, but there's also a Greek Orthodox one. Well, now you know that there's a third Patriarch of Alexandria too, a Catholic one, who is the leader of the Coptic Catholic Church. In Antioch, it's even more complicated. There's the Oriental Orthodox Patriarch and the Greek Orthodox Patriarch. But there's also
Okay.
3 different Catholic patriarchs, representing the 3 different Catholic churches based in Syria. Now, I should mention, which I failed to do last time, that the city of Antioch is now actually located in Turkey. But for most of history, it was associated with the region called Syria. In Rome, of course, it's simple. There's just one
What?
patriarch, Pope Francis. And in Constantinople, it's mostly simple. There's mainly just Bartholomew I, the spiritual leader of the Eastern Orthodox Church, although technically the Armenian Church has a patriarch there too. Finally, in Jerusalem, there are 3 patriarchs. There's the main patriarch, who is Eastern Orthodox, but there's also a Catholic patriarch who represents the Latin Church, as well as an Armenian patriarch. So that takes care of the official branch.
Okay, I was close. There were 13. I said 18. Or wait, there were 14. I was close either way, guys. Shout outs to me. I am the greatest. Also, my girlfriend said this shirt looks really cute and that I look really good today. So, double shout outs to me.
Branches of the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches. But before I go, I want to point out a few unofficial or independent branches. In 1870, the Roman Catholic Church held a council that is now known as Vatican I. One of the things that the council decided was that the Pope is infallible. Now, this doesn't actually mean that the Pope never makes mistakes or that he has the power to radically change church doctrine. It actually only applies to special statements that are clearly made ex cathedra, meaning from the chair. Well, there were some Catholics that disagreed with the idea of papal infallibility, among other things. And there happened to be an archbishop in the Dutch city of Utrecht who had already gone independent. So basically, after Vatican I, a bunch of other priests joined with that archbishop to form the Old Catholic Church, also known as the Church of Utrecht. Today, they are led by this man here. Something similar happened in the 1960s, following the council known as Vatican II. One of the main things to come out of that council was the decision to hold Mass in local languages instead of Latin. Again, there were some Catholics who disagreed with the various decisions made at the council. This time, those who separated and formed independent.
So, as far as for the first one, I will say I would not have agreed with that. I would have been one of the people that was like, yeah, I don't know about that. You mean to tell me when he's sitting in that chair, his connection to God is even more powerful than it was just with him being the Pope, and that now he's actually like his words are infallible, like just when he's over there? Like, I would have an issue with that. But as far as the second one, I actually do understand why it would probably be easier to just do Mass within the language of where you're at, like where you're going all around the world. But then again, I also can be, say like, hey, our tradition is to do this in Latin. Our followers should know Latin in general, so let's make sure that they understand Latin and then, read it to them. Maybe just make sure that you have some type of Catholic program within all the churches that'll make it so they're teaching people Latin as well. Now, that is an additional thing that they're going to have to do, and I don't know. It probably would just be easier to tell them just to learn it in their own language. So, it's a tough choice, tough decisions. I think you can talk it over though. I feel like you guys could be talking it over and you don't have to split, but that's me. I'm the guy who's saying don't split up the churches into 24 churches. You could have had one big church.
Catholic churches became known as sedevacantists, which is a word based on the Latin for empty chair. Basically, these Catholics believe that the office of Pope has been vacant ever since Vatican II. One of the main sedevacantist churches is the Congregation of Mary Immaculate Queen in Nebraska. The Eastern Orthodox Church also has independent branches. There, the separatists are known as Old Calendarists or True Orthodox. The main issue for them was the switch that the Eastern Orthodox Church made in the 1920s from using the old Julian calendar to the new Julian calendar.
Oh,
Today, most Old Calendarists are found in Romania and Greece. Okay, so that was a look at the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox branches of Christianity. In the next episode, we'll be moving on to the Protestants and Restorationists. And this is where the tree starts to really go in a bunch of different directions.
oh,
So
wow.
you can expect that there will be several episodes on the Protestants and
So, guys, the next one is when it's going to be complicated and have a lot of like complicated things in it. This one was easy.
Restorationists before we're done. Episode 3 is likely to come out mid-March. Until then, leave a comment with your thoughts. Thanks for watching.
All right, guys, another incredible video by Useful Charts. Remember, please like, comment, subscribe to his video. Go watch the original. Go watch his other videos. I'm making these reactions months after he's already put them out there. So, guys, if you want to go watch the full thing, you want to watch it without me interrupting or giving my opinion on things, feel free to check him out. But if you like me giving my opinion on things, maybe you like seeing me. Maybe you like my face. Maybe you like my shirts. Maybe you just like my personality. Then please drop me a like, hit that subscribe button, throw some comments in there saying like, oh man, gosh, you're such a great reactor. You do all the things that I want people to do. You're watching, you're reacting, you're talking at times, and then you pause, and then you unpause. It's so incredible. That's me impersonating you, writing that in the comments. So, yeah, guys, please like, comment, subscribe. Again, thank you. If anyone makes it this far in the videos, especially these videos, because these are the videos that are like, they're actually helping me learn something that I'm going to be going through for the entire rest of my life, my spirituality. I truly appreciate it, and I thank you. And as always, bye.